there, everyone, and welcome back to another video looking at an aspect of the week. This week, the week starting May 17, there's actually going to be two videos, and this one is the second one looking at a couple of different aspects that are happening this week. So this second aspect that I want to focus on this week was a little bit of kind of a juicy one that I couldn't resist adding in. This is the Sun in Gemini square Jupiter in Pisces. So this aspect is happening on Friday, May 21st, maybe May 22nd, depending on where you are. The aspect is happening with the Sun at 0 degrees Gemini. So just after the Sun has moved into the sign of Gemini and Gemini season has begun. And Jupiter is still at 0 degrees Pisces. So it's happening just after that Jupiter in Pisces ingress as well. And part of the reason I wanted to pick this aspect is that it's the first time we have another planet interacting with Jupiter in Pisces. So this is going to show us something, maybe reveal something, or bring a piece of insight around the longer Jupiter and Pisces trend. So let's start with the aspect itself, Sun square Jupiter. This is an aspect of stretching, of things kind of going beyond their limit. Are we going beyond a limitation into the place of growth and magical progress? Or are we going beyond a limitation to a place where we might break or snap? That is the million-dollar question. I'm inclined to think it's like that uncomfortable stretching that goes with growing, maybe leveling up. And that's got to do with the fact that Jupiter is in such good condition in one of its home signs of Pisces at the time this aspect forms. Nonetheless, it could be considered a positive aspect and an aspect with a little bit of friction for different reasons. The positive combination comes from the Sun and Jupiter pulling together in an aspect. The Sun and Jupiter are known together as, there's so many great things to say about these two planets. Marsilio Ficino, a medieval Renaissance astrologer, I should say, mage, just all-round kind of mystical guy, talked about the three graces in astrology, the three kind of life-giving or life-affirming planets as the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus. So anytime we see the Sun and Jupiter together, I do get that sense of something being really vitalized or amplified or enhanced in a way that is affirming or growing or encouraging in some capacity. The Sun and Jupiter together has this really strong quality of self-belief or self-confidence. Like, I can do it. Why wouldn't I give that a shot? It's not obsessed necessarily with achievement, but it is really focused on experiences that will be new or perhaps might lead to fulfillment, or certainly that idea of trying something as a way of growing and expanding your experiences. So Sun square Jupiter, even though it's a square aspect, I do think it has some really good features to it. But it is the nature of the square aspect to bring a little bit of that tension or friction in. And both these planets are newly into their current signs. The Sun is just come into Gemini in the last 24 hours, and Jupiter is only about a week into Pisces. So they're both trying to figure out the lay of the land based on where they are. And now they've got to deal with some pressure from somebody with different priorities or a different agenda to them. So the friction or the tension here might be about competing plans or dreams or priorities. It could also be about the tension between facts, information, and data, which the Sun in Gemini is representing, versus the desire to follow a feeling or to really pursue a dream or a vision, which is something that Jupiter in Pisces would be very pro. So anytime we have a square aspect, we're going to need some adjustment or some sort of interplay and accommodation between the two planets. Now, in our aspect work, there are different kind of rules or theories that govern how two planets connect and interact. And in this particular type of aspect with Jupiter in Pisces and the Sun in Gemini, Jupiter is going to have what's called an overcoming impact on the Sun in Gemini. And that's a technical term that basically translates to Jupiter is going to have a dominating or overarching influence, that the Sun is more likely to take on whatever it is Jupiter and Pisces is about in this particular configuration of the planets. So Jupiter in Pisces kind of has the upper hand here. And so he's going to start imprinting onto that sun in Gemini, that idea that the data and the information is great, but only if it serves a larger purpose, only if it's leading you closer to some sort of satisfying dream or vision, or only if it's helping you make a contribution or help others in some capacity. These are all things that Jupiter in Pisces is very focused on. So, in terms of the day, Friday, May 21st, when this aspect is happening, a couple of things could happen. You might be full of confidence, so much so that you're willing to take a leap of faith or to overextend yourself on a possibly risky situation, but that you're curious enough about or interested enough in that the risk is worth it. And I think that is one of the kind of things that this particular Sun Jupiter aspect boils down to, is that the risk is probably worth it. Even if you don't achieve the outcome that you initially set out to, there's something really valuable to learn, to experience, or someone important to interact and connect with. So getting out of your comfort zone, trying something that's a little different, maybe unfamiliar for you, it's a great way to use this energy. It's like backing yourself and having a go, bit of a curious kind of experimental mindset, just to see where saying yes takes you. So saying yes is a great strategy. The caution of Sun square Jupiter is that we might overestimate our abilities. And, in business or in life, they often say you should underpromise and overdeliver. This type of Sun square Jupiter aspect is actually more about overpromising and underdelivering. And that's where the exaggerating, where you overcommit, you take on too much, and then you get into it and you're like, this is just not going to happen, or it's just not realistic. The Sun square Jupiter in mutable signs, there's definitely a multitasking skill or knack here. And for some of us, we're going to overpromise or overestimate our ability, say yes to too many things. And then we're going to just have this insanely busy 24 to 36 hour period where we actually push ourselves really hard to do all the things. So some of us could be really productive because we have like overcommitted ourselves. Others of us are going to have a little bit of that kind of mini meltdown where it's like, I've just taken on too much and I can't do it all. The sun is in Gemini, so communication is going to be really key here. If you do get snowed under, overwhelmed, if there's too much on your plate, tell someone about it. This is a very mutable square. Sun in Gemini, Jupiter in Pisces, 2 of our 4 mutable signs. So things can be flexed, we can adapt, we can change. We're not locked in the way that planets in fixed signs making a square might be. So if you realize that you've overextended, overcommitted, or you're not going to be able to deliver something that you said you would, just talk about it. It may or may not fix things, but it's going to take some of that tension out and stop that internal churning. So that's quite a deep dive on the Sun square Jupiter aspect for May 21st. But hopefully it helps you navigate this latter part of the week with this very full, Sun Jupiter is like, I just want more. I want like to taste everything or do all the courses or connect with all the people. And so that enthusiasm is very admirable, but it's a little hard to manage in reality. So maybe just using some of our free will to tone our plans and, plans down to something that's bite-sized enough that we can satiate or be satisfied rather than just the gluttony, which is one of, I guess, the shadow sides of Jupiter. So that's the Sun square Jupiter. If you would like more information on Jupiter and Pisces, I recently gave a 90-minute detailed webinar on Jupiter and Pisces called Dreaming the Future. It gives you a mix of technical information about Jupiter and Pisces, some of the mythological stories and meaning about Jupiter and Pisces, and some really practical tips about how to work with this cycle based on when it's going to be happening and how it might be affecting you. So if you want more on Jupiter and Pisces, pop over to my website, kellysastrology.com, and check out that webinar, Jupiter and Pisces, Dreaming the Future. I hope that Jupiter and Pisces is starting to show some beautiful offerings to all of us now that we're a few days into that. Enjoy this aspect as we head into the weekend, team, and I'll see you again soon.